he showed up at Abraham's door. And incidentally, if stuff ain't going right, and if you don't really believe, you need him to show up in person, because he will show up in person. Somebody need to hear what I just said. He'll show up in person. If you don't believe but you want to believe, he will show up. As a matter of fact, things get better when he shows up. My faith is strengthened when he shows up, because when I look at God and God start talking about some impossible stuff, I start to say, God, I need a touch from you. I need a visit from you. He said, I said to him sometime, and you do too, God, show me and I'll believe it. God said, if you believe it, I'll show it to you. But you got to put forth some effort. Amen. I'm from Missouri. No, I was born in Missouri. He said, show me. Show me. God said, I don't need to show you. You need to take a peek at my track record. You need to look at what I've done in the past. You need to look at the past experience. You need to look at my past deliverance. You need to look at what I've done in the past. As a matter of fact, I didn't need you. I made you. But look, what Abraham chuckled, but he chuckled for a different reason. And then Sarah chuckled. And I mentioned this morning that I think, now there's no pun intended, Sister Watson, but I think I've created a monster. Because listen, I don't no pun. I said no pun. I apologize from the beginning. Listen, because the older we are and the more we've been together, the more she do stuff that I do. Now, sometimes I do stuff intentional, but I have a different reason. And if she go to saying it and doing it, she just ain't saying it with the right mindset, because she didn't know why I said what I said. And I'm critical of preachers. I'm critical of preachers because I'm a preacher, but I can speak from a preacher perspective. She can't be critical of preachers because she can't speak from a preacher perspective. Did you hear what I said? So she didn't know my motive, but I said something. I said something like, he didn't preach, can't preach his way out of a brown, wet paper bag, because he don't know how to rightly divide the word. And then I overheard her on a conversation talking to somebody, said, no, he can't preach. He can't preach. You know what I'm saying? And I realized that I fed into her spirit some negative stuff, but I was talking to another preacher about a certain particular issue. Catch what I'm saying? But she caught what I said and followed what I said. I said something then, because if you're going to be the leader of your house, you got to watch what you do. See, Abraham chuckled, but he chuckled for a different reason. I like to believe that he chuckled because of the point and period of coming pleasure. Because when he chuckled, he was like, oh yeah. But when Sarah chuckled, she chuckled out of a misunderstanding or misconception or absence of belief or confidence in God. Can I make this plain, y'all? And so what I'm saying is, man, you got to be careful what you say and do around your family. You got to be careful what you say and do around your children. You got to be careful what you say and do. Can I talk to men today? Just men, son, you got to be careful, because somebody's watching what you do. Somebody's watching what you say. Somebody's listening to how you say what you say. Somebody's watching how you deal with circumstances. Somebody's watching how you deal with situations. If you fall apart on everything, if you can't handle nothing, you're teaching other people to give up before they start. But if you're a child of God, if you develop a relationship with God, then you can learn how to share what you share and be intentional in the plan of God. So every now and then, my daughter's 17, here I go again. Every time she come down the steps, my wife could attest to it, every time she'd come down the steps when she was a little girl, I'd open a book. Every time I'd be reading. I mean, sometimes I wasn't reading. I was just acting like it. When she come down the step, I open up a book, because she needed to know that she got to get the book. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to be intentional to help people. I'm talking to men now. Now I can go back to the text. I'm closing it. Now turn to somebody and say, he's closing it now. Yeah. Abraham had planted in Sarah's mind, it's all right to chuckle. And God got offended, because God said, what you're saying is that you don't believe me. What you're saying is that you got to investigate my ability to perform. What you're saying is that I can't do it. So he asked the rhetorical question, is anything too hard for the Lord? And I shared last week, and I share with each of you again, that if you're a child of God, you know that the answer is no, but you don't get to know right off the bat. And I want you to understand that faith is not blind acceptance of something that has not taken place. But I mentioned last week that Manly Beasley said that faith is seeing a thing that is not so in order that it is so in order that it might be so. He's saying that you got to look beyond what you see, and you've got to understand we walk by faith and not by sight. So Abraham said, God, I believe you. And the Lord accounted it unto him as righteousness. And so when I read in the text, he says, is anything too hard for the Lord? He says, you don't have to investigate. You don't have to wonder. You can take and look at my track record. But he says, I shall. He declares that in a year she will have a baby. Look at verse 14. He says, at the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. What he says here is that my timetable is not like your timetable. He talks about chronos and kairos. He talks about this in this text. He helps us to understand that his time is different than our time. Amen. It's his time is different than our time. So what God says, that's why I'm closing. What God says he will do, he will do. Turn to somebody and say, if God said it, it's done. 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 If God is saying it, it's already done. If God said, I shall, that's a declarative. It means that it's going to happen. Well, what about if I don't believe it? It really doesn't matter. If God said it, it's going to happen. Because God is a sovereign God. And God said, I can do whatever I want to do. Well, Lord, why are you allowing so many things to happen in my life? It ain't your business. If you learn how to let me handle your business, I can take you through the storm and the rain in your life. Well, God, why is it that I'm at this point in my life? Why is it I don't have a job? If you just learn how to trust in me, he said, I'll make your enemy, finance your journey. Well, God, why is it that I got to be sick all the time? Can I tell y'all my personal testimony? Every year I get older, I got a birthday coming Wednesday, and every year right before I get sick with some new thing. But I've learned, that if my birthday wasn't coming, the only alternative to getting old is death. Do I have a witness? So I just started to say, I know that I'm in your hand, and whatever happened to me, Lord, just take care of me. I got a foot problem, but a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't wear a shoe, but I got a shoe on today. Slowly but surely he's healing me. I'm healed in my mind. I'm healed in my heart. Now I'm waiting on the healing in my foot. Do I have a witness? I don't know about you, but I found out that man's extremity is God's opportunity. Whatever God said that he was going to do, you can sit back and relax, because he's going to do it. Is there anybody here? It looked bad. It looked dark. It looked bleak. It looked like it wasn't going to happen. But if you ever learn to wait on the Lord, I heard David say, I waited patiently on the Lord, and he inclined and heard my cry. I love the Lord because he heard my cry and pitied every groan. Do I have a witness? Is there anybody here? You know what Isaiah meant when he said, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew that strength shall mount up on wings like an eagle, shall run and not be weary, shall walk and not faint. I don't know about you, but I'm waiting on him. Is there anybody here you don't mind just waiting on him? He may not come when you want him to come, but he's always on time, and he always on